As you have probably already seen from the demo video, Powtoon is a tool that enables you to create short, flipped classroom lessons. This tutorial will show you how to do that by recreating the construction of that demo video. The link to the video is here. If you have not already done so, register for a free Powtoon account. To join the Mon Education group, click the appropriate link below once your registration is complete. Click this if you are in one of the primary elementary programs, and click this if you are in one of the intermediate secondary programs. Once that's done, you will be able to work on your Powtoon projects and will not have to pay unless you decide to use any of the Pro Plus premium objects for your project. Once I am logged in to my Powtoon account, I click Workspace to start a new Powtoon or to continue working on one that I've already started. Because I am doing a new one, I click Blank Powtoon. There are various looks that can be applied to the Powtoon. Feel free to explore them. The demo Powtoon was created using Modern Edge, so I choose it. Whenever you are using objects in Powtoon, whether they are characters, images, backgrounds, or sound clips, be aware that the ones marked Pro Plus are premium objects, and you will have to buy these separately if you wish to use them. That said, there are plenty of good ones supplied with our account. I will first choose a background. I click the Backgrounds tab. The background I used resembled an office, so I search using that term. I scroll through the results until I find the one I want. Now, I will clear the search term. Recall from that demo Powtoon that it was stated to always begin with a script. That is already done, and I recorded it separately. Incidentally, it was 375 words and fit single-spaced on one page. The recording is about 2 minutes long. Yours should also be in that range. You should do the same. For iPad and iPhone, I use the app Voice Record Pro. For Android, I use Smart Recorder. For PC and Mac, I recommend you use Audacity. I will now insert the voiceover into the project. I click the Sound tab, and then I click Add Voiceover. From here, I can upload the file. At this point, I am asked if I want to use the voiceover for the whole project or just for one slide. I normally do the voiceover for the whole project and then add slides as necessary to match the visuals to the voice. It's generally easier that way. If you wish, you can record separate voiceovers for each slide. But I do not recommend that. It often makes for a choppy narration as you transition from slide to slide, and it takes a lot longer to do the project in pieces that way. I have a copyright-free soundtrack for the music as well. It's only short, but Powtoon will loop it as needed. I will add that now as well. Once again, I upload the file. I need the music to have a much lower volume than does the voiceover. I can adjust the two separately. The best way to do this is to click Play Together and adjust the volume sliders until it sounds right. In this case, I leave the narration at full volume and I set the music volume much lower. This is the playhead. I will move it back to 0. It counts off the time in seconds on the timeline for the slide when you press the play button. Objects on the screen can be manipulated using it. You will see, for example, when and if they enter and exit. The playhead is located on the timeline. Look closely and notice that this slide is set to last for 10 seconds. The audio file is approximately 2 minutes long, so I will need more time. Notice the plus and minus signs at the right end of the timeline. Clicking these will make the slide last either for a longer or a shorter period. In this case, I will make the slide last much longer. Notice that 20 seconds is the maximum amount for any given slide. Don't worry. If that's not enough, there is a way to duplicate and pick up the next slide where you left off. I will demonstrate that shortly. Now I will add my character. I will click this tab to begin. Notice the Pro Plus badge on many of the character sets. You will have to pay for those. I will select the Dream Team since all of the characters in that set are free. The ones in The Office are free as well. I scroll until I find the character I want. This is the one I used in the demo, so I will select it. I will put my character over at the left and make it larger. Now, I will choose Leslie's character and place it over at the right and make it the right size as well. Now, notice that the playhead is set at about 15 seconds. That's because I pressed the play button on my computer and I listened for when Leslie first spoke. When I heard her voice, I paused the playhead at that time. Look at this little ramp. The blue piece to the right denotes when Leslie is on the timeline. It starts at about 12 seconds, so that's when she made her entrance. I can change that time by dragging the blue piece to the left or to the right. Clicking on the ramp itself opens up the box that lets me choose how Leslie enters. Since she's on the right side of the screen, I have chosen to have her come in from that side. Notice that there are many other options. She could, for example, fade into place Star Trek fashion, like someone beamed her in. She could come from the top or the bottom. There's even a hand option for sliding in objects. It's not the best option for people, though. Recall that I looked sad at the start of the demo Powtoon. Presently, I do not. I can change this using poses. First, I click on either my shape or the icon of me at the bottom of the timeline. Then, I click on Pose and select the one that looks sad. So far, so good. But now, I am facing the wrong way. I click here to flip my character horizontally. Now, I have the first 20 seconds of the video done, but have also run out of time for this slide. No worries, I can create another identical slide. I start by hovering over the current slide. The 3 horizontal dots highlighted will appear. When I select them, the pop-up you see appears. I choose Extend, which duplicates the current slide along with all the characters and objects on it. Now, look down here. The 2 means that the little block contains 2 objects. In this case, it's my character and Leslie's character. So I click and hold. I notice from the timeline that the characters are only there at the beginning. I will click the black vertical bar and drag the blue region for the full length of the timeline so that the characters will be there for the whole time. You need to remember to do this each time you extend a slide. Only objects that are there at the end will be extended to the next slide. There. Done. This slide doesn't need to be very long, so I will shorten it to 3 seconds by repeatedly clicking on the minus sign at the right of the timeline. Now, I will continue by extending the slide as I did before. Recall that I hovered over the current slide, then I clicked on the 3 horizontal dots and finally selected Extend. Now, Leslie needs to move over to the left side of the screen. I begin this by selecting her character. Now, I select Settings. And I select Move A to B. Notice how everything is grayed out, showing only 2 copies of Leslie in the foreground. The one in back shows where she starts, and I have to drag the other to her destination. One subtle point. Look at the timeline and notice that the first 1.5 seconds are darker blue. This is the time she is actually moving. I can drag the right edge of the dark blue part to make the movement faster or slower. There. That should do it. I click anywhere outside the selected region to continue. Now, I need to sit my character down. I select the character, and I select Pose. I choose the typing pose. I am not where I should be. I can drag the character over to the chair. There. That's better. At this point, I play the slide and listen to the audio to make sure things are all going well. When I do, I notice that this is the part where Leslie is looking to see my script. I create a new slide and I will add extra time to it. As before, I need to make both characters exist for the whole time. So, I click and drag their items for the full duration of the timeline. Done. As before, I need to make both characters exist for the whole time. So, I click and drag their items for the full duration of the timeline. Done. This seems to be the best spot right here. So this is how long the slide needs to be. I will click the minus sign until the time is right. There, that's done. Now, I will extend as before and make sure both characters are on all of the timeline. Now, I will move Leslie back to the right of the frame. I do this by selecting her character, then clicking Settings, and then Move A to B as before. I will also change Leslie's appearance. She is about to explain something, so I choose that pose. And I click outside the selection box to continue. Now, Leslie is facing the audience and is about to say that you must start with a script. I played the slide and realized the slide ended before she was finished, so I have to add more time. That is the maximum of 20 seconds right there. This is the part where I said that I had graphics. Recall that the animations showed pictures of lists and charts appearing and floating over to the side. These came from the Props tab, so I will select that and search for the items. With the Props tab selected, I can see some categories that can be explored, as well as a search box. I type paper in the search box. And I will drag this item out onto the scene. And I will set it so that it slides across the screen to the left. As before, I click Options, then Motion A to B, and then drag it to its destination. I will pick another item and do the same thing, placing it close to the first. And I will scroll and find another one and do it again. Now there are 3 pieces of paper, each one appearing and then moving to the left of the screen. I will type graph in the search box and will select one of the results and do the same with it. And one more time with this graph. So now I will clear the search box. This is the part of the clip where Leslie says to think it through and write a script, and then the first phrase appeared in writing on the screen. I will do that now using the Text tab. First, I click on the Text tab. Then I select which style to use. In this case, I will use a title style. Then I type the text in the box. Notice that there are numerous options for your text. Then I type the next part. I stretch it out to fit neatly, and I drag it in place. And now, it's time for a new slide. This is the one where I added the slide that said 3 hours later. I need an image now that says that. I click here on the Images tab, and then here on Upload Images, and then I will upload the image. OK, done. And the slide is set for 4 seconds. That's about right. Now I will add another slide and pick it up where Leslie comes back 3 hours later. She needs to move over beside me and see what I am doing. You know the steps, right? And she needs to turn to face me with a different pose. I will need to do a new slide for that, and you also know how to do that now. I will shorten the time for this slide by clicking on the minus sign. Now I will add a new slide and bring Leslie back to the right so she can tell me what's meant by a hook. I will also add a new slide, turn her around, and add extra time to the slide to give her time to talk about it. Now, I will type the next text box. I will also shorten the slide so that it ends when Leslie stops explaining the need for the hook. Time to add another slide. This is the part where Leslie says to give the audience a task. Always remember that when you extend a slide, you have to select the objects on the slide and extend them along the timeline. Sometimes people forget to do this, and when they get to the next slide, there are no characters at all, because they were not there at the end of the previous slide. When this happens, it's best to delete the slide you just extended, go back, fix the previous slide, and then extend all over again. You will likely also need to change the time that the slide is supposed to last in order to match the action to the narration. I will edit the existing text box to make room for the new message. There, done, and I also need to resize it. Time for another slide. Once again, I make sure that the objects are extended on the timeline. I won't be needing the text in this scene, so I will delete it. Time for the final scene where I told our audience to have fun making their Powtoon. I listen to the audio and decide that about 8 seconds or so will do, so the slide duration needs to be reduced a little. And now for the text box. Okay, now that looks good. So, now the Powtoon is ready. I only have a few more tasks left to do. First, I will do something about that file name. Untitled just won't do. I will go with this name. Notice how I fit in the date as well as the fact that this is version 2. This is, after all, the second time I've done that one. Besides saving it in the Powtoon account, which I just did, I will also export it to YouTube as a backup. At the time this tutorial was done, your non-student account did not support YouTube. So if you do this step, you will have to use your own YouTube account. In this same Brightspace module, you will find a short tutorial on how to create your own channel if you want to. I select YouTube from the drop-down. The default privacy setting is set to public. That's not a good idea, so I change it to unlisted using the drop-down. This means it can only be viewed from the direct link. I click Next to move on. On the next screen, I change the category to Education and click Next to continue. I choose HD at 720p. You have to pay extra to go with 1080p. Then I click Upload Powtoon. And that's it. The Powtoon is now complete and is being published to the YouTube channel. I will be notified a few minutes later when the video is ready on YouTube. You can share this in Brightspace in several ways. One idea would be to simply paste the URL in a discussion post. If this needs to be a Dropbox submission, you may choose to embed the video in a PowerPoint slide. The link shows you how to do this if necessary. And that's it for the tutorial. Remember to follow the basic steps when doing your own. First, write a script and then record it as a single sound file. Then, log into Powtoon and start a new one. Choose a look as well as your background and characters. Once that's done, add extra scenes as necessary to complete your project. Once done, make a point of also exporting it to your own YouTube channel. And, like the characters in the demo said, have fun doing the project.